Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another episode. I want to thank you, as we're at the end of the year now, for tuning in. If this is your first or your 10th or your 80th episode you've watched, YouTube just told us we had, I don't know how, it's like 238,000 views and so many thousands of hours watched, and I'm really thankful for that. We hear from a lot of you, and I know there's a lot of places to watch this stuff. There's a lot of places to watch videos online about real estate and a lot of places to listen to it. This is also a podcast, by the way, so if you don't want to watch the video of it, you can also find it on Spotify, you can find it on Google Podcasts, you can find it on Apple. Thank you again, and I know you have a lot of choices. Now, side note, a lot of people won't admit the kind of podcasts that they listen to or the videos that they watch. Personally, and I don't really tell this to people, but I listen to some business podcasts and growth and mindset stuff, and that's great. But I also listen to some super nerdy stuff. I listen to one that's sponsored by Wired magazine. It's like a techie magazine. It's called Geek's Guide to the Galaxy, and they talk about sci-fi movies, fantasy movies. They have panels. They talk about sci-fi books, and they kind of tear them apart. Another one is called, I listen to a lot, is called Smart List. It's with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Chris Hayes. They have guests on. Another one I listen to is called Daddy Issues. This is kind of a cool one. They talk about just life being a dad. It's one of the announcers for the NFL. I forgot what team. I think it's the Chiefs, maybe. Joe Buck and I think his first name is Oliver Hudson. It's Kate. Forgot her name. Goldie Hawn's son. And so they host one too. Super funny. And I got to tell you, there's one. And I know this is not real estate related, but there's one podcast that I listen to that I've only told Michelle and my girls, and that is, it's a group of guys. One of them is an actor, but I'm not going to get into it. They sit down at their dining room table in Encino, California, which is where I grew up, not far from where I work in Westlake Village, and they play Dungeons and Dragons. So they play an hour of Dungeons and Dragons through a full every season's like a full campaign, lasts for weeks. And I sit for an hour while I'm just working out or whatever and listen to these guys play Dungeons and Dragons. That's probably the nerdiest thing I've friggin' ever heard in my life. But anyway, side note. Today, very short episode. Anytime you're buying a home, big jump, right? Going right into fun stuff, Dungeons and Dragons, right into home. But if you're buying a home and you are getting a loan for part of the purchase price, like most people do, and the seller is giving you a credit for something, anything at all. Like if you do a request for repair, you do an inspection, you find a roof leak, and he's going to give you a credit for it. Not fix it, but he's going to give you a credit, a dollar amount. You have to let all credits, you have to let your lender know. Make sure that if your agent's doing on the weekend, you do an inspection and you negotiate a $4,000 credit to take care of all kinds of stuff, and the seller signs it and sends it to you. Make sure your lender knows about it. They have to know about the credit, and most lenders, you're limited by the amount of credit you can get. Some lenders are 1%, I've seen. Some go as high as 3%, maybe a little bit more of the purchase price as a max credit, because they don't want you getting a huge credit from the seller and like taking money out of the deal. A lot of people are just kind of shady that way, where they kind of like get a loan for, $1 million, and then the seller gives them a $100,000 credit back, and there's some sort of insider. So that's why they limit the credit. Make sure that your lender knows about it. That's it for today. That's it for the year. We're going off air until January, beginning of January. So I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for all the time, because again, as we talked about earlier, you got a lot of places to watch stuff, and I'm glad that you've geeked out with us over the last year and a half. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever else is left, and Happy New Year. See you next year.